Hello, everyone. Good morning to the folks joining from the US and good afternoon from everybody in Europe. I hope you poured yourself a pumpkin chai latte and a hot chocolate or a tea or a coffee because we've prepared the autumn release 2024 for ClickShare for you. My colleagues from the product management team will walk you through what's new for ClickShare this fall. So what do we have on the agenda? We have made some end user improvements. We will talk about the dual content sharing, some improvements for conference view, as well as the new interface for the ClickShare desktop app. Also for the IT managers, we are making their life easier thanks to more options for the firmware. Oops. The app deployment for Mac, the ClickShare bar frequency updates, some updates for the button driver, some security certifications, and then the firmware compatibility for Jabra. And then last but not least, we will give some more background on the ClickShare and Micro Shared Spaces initiative. And with that, I'm handing it over to Elizabeth, product manager for the end user experience.
Yes, thank you, Frauke. Really looking forward to that pumpkin spice chai. What's new for the end user? I'm super excited to announce some things that we have worked on this past quarter, and what I can tell you today is definitely very exciting. So the first thing I want to talk about is, I'll wait for the slide. Yeah, there we go. Is dual sharing. So up till now, it was already possible with ClickShare when you're with multiple participants in a room to share content with two people next to each other if your base unit allows for it, of course. But imagine you're giving a presentation and at some point you end up at a slide with some numbers on, and all of a sudden someone is challenging you on the numbers and asks you, hey, where do these come from? Imagine that you could simply also pop up an Excel file right next to your presentation from the same laptop. Well, from now on, when you have the desktop app installed, this is possible. So what are the requirements for this to work? You will need a CX50 second generation or a ClickShare Bar Pro in a meeting room that has a dual display setup. So if you want to simply compare two pieces of content, or you want to go a bit deeper into much more detail on what you are presenting by showing something else right next to it, that's now also possible with ClickShare. The next thing I want to talk about is conference view, and we have a few updates there. So we are constantly working very hard on improving the smart meeting flows, where we as ClickShare help guide you throughout your meeting and throughout your hybrid meeting as well. So what is conference view? As you may know, this is this nice option in the application. The moment you start your meeting in Teams, in Zoom, our ClickShare application will detect this and will motivate you to show the meeting on the display in a nice layout. So that's people next to content. So we've noticed from feedback that the current way this was implemented wasn't always very clear for the user and sometimes came over as a bit confusing. So we put a lot of effort into improving this design and make it more natural. So that's why we changed from the icon way to an actual live representation of your meeting on that moment, so that you can immediately recognize your meeting and see what will eventually end up on screen. Next to that, we also made sure that in the background, the ClickShare app is still visible, so the thumbnail page, so that it's clear that you're still in our application and that you don't have the feeling that it's a new pop-up or a new application opening up on top of it. Additionally, and this is a very small update, but definitely important, as there have been some, there has been a release of Zoom 6.0, and with this new version, it has a lot of layout changes compared to the previous Zoom versions. So for us, it was more difficult for ClickShare to actually capture and detect these meetings because of these layout changes. But now we've also put a lot of effort in making sure that our feature, so conference view, is also able to detect Zoom 6.0. And from now on, you can also enjoy the feature of presenting people next to content when you're in that type of meetings as well. So a lot of exciting things in the ClickShare application, and of course, having the desktop application installed brings a lot of benefits, from speed of connection when you plug in a button to being able to connect without the need of a button, but also the streamlined, unified experience that is no longer tied to your firmware version. And of course, additionally, some features like conference view, for example, are available when you have the ClickShare app deployed on your device. And as you may or may not know, we are also working very hard on optimizing the interface of the ClickShare application to make it more intuitive and add a lot of, how should I say, intuitive visual elements in the application to make it more easy to use for the end users. We are looking towards the end of this year to entirely shift to the new interface, and this has been a phased timeline. So currently, the new interface is the default for new installs and the button application. And in the next stage, we will also be setting the default to existing installs. No worries, you can still have the option to toggle back in the interface, but don't wait too long to make the final switch, because we are looking towards the end of 2024 to entirely phase out the old application. So enjoy the improved user experience, look forward to the new exciting features to come, and don't wait too long with switching to the new interface. So that was it from my side for the end user experience, and now I would gladly hand over the mic to my colleague Peter, who will be focusing on the IT admin experience.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and welcome from my side. Let me show you what's new in this release for the IT admin. I'm gonna kick it off with XMS Cloud, a new functionality that we have available there. As you know, you can use XMS Cloud to update the firmware of your ClickShare base units. Today, you can do that by setting this automatically. That means if a new version comes available, your base units will automatically update to that latest version. Or you can choose to actually use XMS Cloud and define to do this manually. Then you can select one base unit or a group of base units and then update that at the moment of your liking, whether you do that manually, or you can even add it to your schedule to have it on a specific time and date. With this version, we are extending these capabilities to also include the option to set a fixed firmware version. And what we mean with that is that you will have the ability to pinpoint a specific ClickShare version for your ClickShare devices. That's very handy if you do your internal validation cycles and you actually want to pinpoint longer periods on a specific ClickShare version. You even will have the option even to have different strategies per ClickShare model. So you could opt for one device model to have this automatically, while another one to set this with this fixed firmware version. Another update, a new capability that we give the IT admins, and is specifically handy for all the IT admins who have to serve users with Mac OS devices. Because today you can already easily mass deploy your the ClickShare desktop application to all your Windows users, but you could not yet do that for your Mac OS users. From today on, you can also, with the same IT tooling that you are used to, en masse deploy the ClickShare application and the updates to your macOS users. If you want to find out how you do that, for example, in Intune, you can click the link on the slide to find out what the steps are to deploy en masse towards your macOS users. An update on the ClickShare bar. If you would get feedback from your end users that remote participants are experiencing flicker on the video stream during meetings, that could be that the power frequency of your region doesn't match the refresh rate of the ClickShare bar. In that case, this could lead to a camera flicker for the remote participants. With this release, we are adding a configuration option in the ClickShare bar to tackle this problem, where you can actually align the frequency of the ClickShare bar camera with the frequency of your power. How to do this is you can go to the web configurator. If you go to the web configurator of your conference bar, then you see in the web configurator a menu option called conference bar and a submenu called video. In that tab below, you will see anti-flicker, where you see the option to actually select the right power line frequency. So if you are experiencing problems, go to that option and validate whether this is then 60 hertz or 50 hertz, that this option should match the power frequency that is there in your region and in the world. Another update is on our button app Windows driver. This was a message that I told in the webinar ready for the summer release, where throughout summer we already had the updated version, but you could still use the old version of the button app Windows driver. But from this release on, you really need to make sure that the Windows driver is updated to be able to continue to have its functionality, which is to make sure that if you use the button app, just clicking in the button, to have this automatically launching when you click it in. Therefore, you need the latest version of the driver, which is 1.24. If you have already throughout summer done this, or your end user devices can profit from automatic updates of the drivers, then at this moment there is nothing for you to do. But if your end user devices would still have an older button app Windows driver, then the time is now to take action. You can click on the link to consult the latest version of the button app Windows driver. Next up, with ClickShare, we continuously invest in security. That's why the complete range of ClickShare devices complies with the ISO 27000 standards. Today, I want to inform you that our flagship model, the ClickShare CX50 Gen 2, has received an additional security certification, which is the EN 303645 standard, to be compliant with that. What does that certification entitle? Well, this is a baseline security certification for IoT devices. And it checks whether when your device is handling and storing data, that this happens in a secure way. Also, when you are communicating, that all the communications that go on the network to and from the device, that this happens in a secure way. And like what I was mentioning about updating as well there, the standard validates whether your update mechanism of the firmware of the base unit happens in a secure way, as well as, for example, password management, is that all secure or not? And I can inform you that our unit passed all these tests with a glance. So a big applause, I think, to the ClickShare team for that. If you want to find out more about ClickShare and the ClickShare security, you can click on the link on the slide in the left bottom. Then an update to XMS Cloud on firmware compatibility. We know that tackling firmware compatibility can be quite a task for you as an IT admin. And when the ClickShare updates, you need to guarantee that also the peripherals that are attached to the ClickShare base units also receive their updates. Right now, we inform you via the website. You can always consult which version of the peripheral firmware that we tested with the ClickShare version. But we want to help you even further. That's why we are now incorporating that knowledge inside XMS Cloud. We are launching now in beta with Jabra devices. So that means if you have Jabra devices XMS Cloud will be able to inform you about which Jabra device is connected to your base unit. It will show you which is the firmware release that is deployed on your Jabra device, and whether this is the version that has been validated with the ClickShare version on the base unit. And if that is not the case, you can easily see that in the UI, and you can take action to update it. And then if it's a green check mark, then you can rest assured that the compatibility is guaranteed and this will work. So you don't, for Jabra devices, you don't need to go to the website anymore. The information will all be in XMS Cloud available for you. Then I hand the word over to Gauthier.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth and Peter, for these very awesome features and capabilities bringing or coming to the ClickShare devices very soon. Now, I want to spend the last chapter of this webinar on shared space. This is something we've been talking about for a little while now, and I just want to reiterate a little bit on why we do this, why this is important, and what this means. Now, if you look at the standard Microsoft narrative, you've been noticing for years that they are focusing on the Microsoft Teams Rooms systems. They have different types of them, and next to the experience and the capabilities that these rooms offer, they have often also added the capabilities to manage, monitor, and have additional insights to these very rooms. Now, since early this year, Microsoft is also shifting its focus a little bit more towards what they call BYOD spaces or shared spaces, since the space is shared by multiple people. And this encompasses both bookable desks or shared desks, as well as BYOD rooms where you would walk in and host the conference from your laptop. Meeting rooms where, for example, you would have a ClickShare device. Now, we have been working with the Microsoft teams not only to enhance the experience for BYOD rooms, but also to enable insights and additional functionalities in these BYOD spaces and for these BYOD spaces. Now, the partnership between Microsoft and Barco is actually yielding three very big benefits. One, for the business owners, you can be assured that this partnership makes that as both companies are building a shared vision for the future, they're also working together to ensure compatibility and to make sure that we can enhance the experience even further than we have done until now. For IT admins, it allows you to have more options for your management and especially for insights. You would have your insights for your MTRs in the Pro Portal, and now you will find additional insights next to those that you would find in XMS, also for BYOD rooms in these or in this Pro Portal. And then for end users, as the Teams client is getting more and more of a personal device, a more personal experience, being able to tune the Teams client to a room experience is really the added benefit of this shared spaces initiative. Now, talking about the shared vision, obviously, both Microsoft and Barco are seeing that more and more meeting rooms are being equipped with conferencing equipment, but there's still many rooms that don't have any equipment out there. And to bring you the visibility and how these are used, how these can be optimized, and how these can be enabled to bring additional performance and capabilities for your end users is where we share the vision on providing the insights and additional views on what's happening in your enterprise. Next to the insights that we deliver for the IT admin, it obviously also improves the end user experience by being able to scale your Teams client into a room experience, something we've been working on for a couple of years already. If you look at how to optimize the office space, the very first thing you need, of course, are additional insights. And again, in XMS, you would find a lot of insights already on the device usage. With the added capabilities, you will now find in the Pro Portal additional insights more linked to the Teams client, such as call quality, how often they use certain modes or capabilities of their Teams client, and so on. Again, this is enabled because of the cooperation between Microsoft and ClickShare. I do want to highlight that we're not sharing any information that is collected in or that is available in ClickShare. We're merely allowing the Teams client to identify meeting rooms uniquely. And this is what we've been doing in the past 2 firmware releases and that we've been building up further. Now, if you would want to do this, you would need to add every ClickShare separately in the Pro Portal. And this is a hassle for the IT admin, and this is something that we've been working on in the past couple of months. Now, if you want to mass enroll your ClickShare devices into the Pro Portal, there's a couple of steps that you can take to make that really, really easy. First thing you need, especially if you want to identify meeting rooms uniquely, because today all of the ClickShare base units would report back as a single unit into the Pro Portal, but to be able to identify each and every room separately based on the buttons that are used and paired with the base unit in that room, the first thing you need is to change the USB identification method for your ClickShare buttons. You can do this either in the web interface of the device or XMS Cloud by changing the identification from unique to per meeting room, or ClickShare default to unique per meeting room. To make sure the setting is well applied, make sure to repair your buttons, otherwise you will need to wait until every user has used the buttons once to have the over-the-air update of the button built into ClickShare. Once the buttons have been updated and repaired, you can actually go to XMS Cloud, go to the Clients tab in the Management section, and there you can now export a list of buttons and their identification method in an Excel format that can be imported into the Pro Portal management suite under the Devices inventory. Yeah? We also added the capability to very easily identify which peripheral belongs to which room, as the meeting room name will be added to the peripheral name itself. In that way, it's really, really easy in the Pro Portal to identify which peripheral, which ClickShare button is to be linked to which room in the Pro Portal, and that really makes your life a lot easier. And then last but not least, obviously for the end user, we've been working with Microsoft team to see how we can further optimize the user experience in a BYOD room. And the very first things that got implemented was the ability to automatically select the peripherals that are associated to the room when you join with room audio through the Teams client. Yeah? By further adding the devices to the Pro Portal, and especially when linking them to a room, an action that, by the way, doesn't need the license, the shared device license, the user will also be either nudged towards selecting room audio because the room audio will be highlighted in blue, or the room audio will be selected automatically when the devices have been added into rooms in the Pro Portal itself. But a lot of other capabilities will be coming. We're not promising anything. This is linked to the Teams client roadmap, but note that the experience will be optimized even further. And with this, I'm also very happy to announce something new or something coming very soon. And I will leave the pleasure to Frauke to announce what is actually coming.
I'm not going to announce it, but I do want to to give you a sneak peek of what may come, like a little teaser. In the next firmware webinar in January 23, we will announce something that could provide more context to remote participants, that will offer a better video and audio experience, and that can do that without adding more hardware. If you want to know more, then make sure to join that session on January 23. You will get invites for that. And with that, we're wrapping up today's webinar. I noticed that a lot of you have already found their way to the Q&A box. We will leave the line open so you can drop your questions if you have more, and we will answer them. You will also get a copy of the slides, and we will send a recap email later this week with all the new features and functions of this firmware release. So with that, I want to thank the product management team for unpacking all the different features, and we will welcome you back in January. Have a great rest of the day. Bye-bye.